If you love Christmas and fairy tales as much as I do, you are going to love this video. Because today, I'm taking you on a magical Christmas market road trip through the Alsace region of France, visiting some of the most incredible Christmas markets in the world, from the mega famous to the delightfully obscure. Stay till the end for a map and detailed itinerary as well, with insider tips you don't want to miss. And if you're new around here, this mysterious voice is Christina, and I make videos all about Europe. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for a new Europe video every week. But for now, join me for a magical Christmas road trip around Alsace. For this trip, I was joined by my two friends Sophie and Susanna. We began our journey in Strasbourg, the largest city in Alsace and the official seat of the European Parliament. We'd be coming back here at the end of our trip to properly explore, but for now, it was time to hit the road. After some car rental drama, we were well on our way to our first stop, Obernai. Obernai is a quaint little town only 20 minutes from Strasbourg, known as a haven for wine and beer production. We booked a hotel right on the main square, which meant glittering views right over the Christmas market. We learned pretty quickly, though, that small town markets can close early, so we spent the evening in the carby loving arms of a local delicacy known as tarte flambée, before a prompt food coma. After a refreshing overnight, we woke up ready to tackle our first Alsatian Christmas market. Obernai, like many towns of the Alsace, is a literal storybook come to life, with half-timbered houses lining cobblestone streets and an endless parade of Christmassy facades, studded with garlands, baubles, and teddy bears. The Christmas market here is small, but nonetheless spread out across the prettiest corners of town, including the main square, Place du Marché. And what I loved and would see time and time again in Alsace was the abundance of helpful resources for tourists, with maps and programs always available for free. But with an itinerary like ours, no time to waste. As the crowds begin to roll in, we were off to explore Colmar. The best way I can describe Colmar to you is that it's like the Disneyland of Christmas markets. With 6 markets to offer visitors, Colmar is definitely one of the most popular and well-known Christmas markets in Alsace. But, just like Disneyland, even with crowds, it's still possible to feel the magic. With facades decked out in teddy bears, frosty white Christmas trees all around, and half-timbered houses lining scenic canals, it's tough to find a more magical backdrop for drinking mulled wine. At Colmar's 6 different Christmas markets, you'll find everything from local food products and handicrafts to beautiful jewelry handmade by local artists. This year, Colmar even has a gourmet food market, with 9 food stalls churning out gourmet dishes for all to enjoy. After a good amount of time freaking out over the beauty of it all, it was time to go. Onwards to our home for the next 2 nights, the fairy tale town of Egisheim, where we were renting a 3-story timbered dream house ripped straight from a storybook. Literally though, this house was illustrated in a storybook. After inhaling some truffle ravioli and plenty of wine, it was time for bed. The next morning though brought on a whole new throng of adventures, including a morning castle hike, and a visit to our most adorable next stop, Turkheim. There are a few things that make Turkheim a very special Christmas destination. First of all, it looks like this. Second, its streets are literally filled with speakers that blast Christmas carols consistently. And of course, it has perhaps the cutest Christmas market stalls in all of Alsace. Painted whimsically to depict a real-life elf village, the Christmas market at Turkheim is like walking into Whoville. It's a tiny market, but an adorable one, with its own special wishing well and a famous advent calendar that puts on a special show every day of December leading up to Christmas at 5 p.m. But because it wasn't yet December, we moved on to our next stop, the very difficult to pronounce Niedermorschwihr. This tiny town was one I started on Google Maps months ago, and while there's no Christmas market here, it's still ridiculously cute and the perfect place for a gratuitous photo shoot for all. After indulging our vanity, we continued on to Kaiserburg, translated to the King's Mountain, one of the best-known villages along the Alsatian wine route. The special thing about Kaiserburg is that it doesn't just feel like a town with a Christmas market. It feels like the entire town has been engulfed by Christmas, with magical storefronts and displays sprinkled all around. Two main markets dominate Kaiserburg: the authentic Christmas market and the farmers market of local producers, which, just gonna say, is a great place to drink wine. And while there's no more than 30 artisans selling their wares at this small market, the finds here are pretty unique, from delicious smelling candles to origami earrings. We ended the evening back at our cozy home base at the enchanting Egisheim Christmas Market. The streets of Egisheim are uniquely built in concentric circles around the town's main square, which makes exploration simple and lovely. This market by night was one of my personal favorites. Tiny but cozy, and every bit as magical as you imagine Christmas markets should be. The next morning though, as the crowds rolled in, it was time for us to roll out. Easier said than done, because the thing nobody tells you about staying in a charming half-timbered house on a cobblestoned lane is that inevitably you must depart from said cobblestoned lane. And doing so can be low-key mission impossible. But we made it, with a round of applause to clap us out. The next stop on our itinerary was Thann, a small city with an equally small but lovely market. One of their Christmas claims to fame is an event where Santa and his elves literally abseiled down the church tower to deliver treats for local children. While we saw no flying Santas, we did see trees beautifully decorated by local villages, an impressive church, and one of the most delicious food revelations of our trip, a spezi box, with cheesy spätzle noodles covered in a creamy sauce with mushrooms and bacon bits. The perfect to-go snack, and one I inhaled in the car as we moved on to our next stop. One of our goals this trip was to explore lesser-known markets in Alsace. Thann was a great example of one that's a bit more off the radar, but filled with local charm. But the thing about seeking out lesser-known markets is you're never quite sure where they might be, which is how we first crashed a children's taekwondo recital before finding our next stop. Oh yeah, and this was after we had driven to a city in search of a mysterious market that literally did not actually exist. But all the struggles were worth it for the Kingersheim Christmas Market, one of the most unique Christmas markets in Alsace. Everything in this market is a tribute to recycling, upcycling, and living an eco-friendly lifestyle. From the decorations made of upcycled bike wheels, to all the vendors selling incredible crafts made from repurposed materials. A vendor here even tipped us off to yet another amazing local market nearby. So off we went. The Vancouver Christmas Market is one that's often left off tourist radars. After all, it's only open for 1 week a year. But if it's wholesome family fun you're after, this market is it. They even had a man hosting trivia about the market. We continued with a bit of backtracking to see the Blue Christmas event in Guebwiller, so named for obvious reasons. Before hitting our final stop for the night, Mulhouse, a city famed for its textiles, but perhaps lesser known than many of the other big cities in the Alsace region. Which is a real shame if you ask me, because the Christmas markets here are really something special. One of the most unique features of this market is a Christmas fabric that they roll out every year. This fabric is used to decorate the market stalls, printed onto cups, represented in lighting fixtures, and oh yes, you can even buy it by the meter. The centerpiece of this Christmas market is, of course, the Ferris wheel, which provides amazing views over the city and church. After a few cups of vin chaud, you might even find yourself brave enough to hop on yourself. The next day was a bit of a fail. We had no idea what the weekend rush would have in store for us as we drove our way to Riquefier, known as one of the most scenic Christmas markets in Alsace. The parking situation was so dire, we even spotted cars parking along the road 2 kilometers from the city center. So we turned back and ran. Sadly, this view was all we would get to see from Riquefier this time. But not to worry. In Alsace, you're never far from an adorable village, so onwards it was to Ribeauvillé, a charming medieval town which hosts a medieval Christmas market 2 weekends of the year. While this market wasn't on during our visit, we were able to find parking, so that's already a win. Plus, the Christmas decorations were already all up, with unique elements that gave the market an undeniably cozy feel. From lanterns lining the trees and streets, to cutesy cookie-inspired cutouts suspended all around. This was definitely an adorable place to get into the Christmas spirit. En route back to Strasbourg, I begged my friends to take me to St, a little-known town that I had read about, which is widely regarded as the birthplace of the Christmas tree. How could I not? Unfortunately, Sunday was an eerily quiet time to visit. St isn't known so much for its market itself, but rather its various displays devoted to the almighty Christmas tree. In fact, the Humanist Museum here is where you'll find the oldest written record of Christmas trees, a marvel we didn't get to see because everything was closed for Sunday. Even the famed Christmas tree garden seemed to be closed in spite of being announced as open daily. And so, defeated, after a short stop, we were onwards to our final destination of the road trip, fittingly the capital of Christmas, Strasbourg. From the festive skating rink and giant Christmas tree at Place Kleber, to the market at Strasbourg's majestic Notre Dame Cathedral, there's Christmas magic literally around every single corner in this amazing city. The oldest market in Strasbourg can be found at Place Broglie, dating back to the mid-16th century. While definitely one of the busiest markets in Strasbourg, selling typical products like ornaments and lights, it's probably the best market in the city to grab a bite, especially when said bite is oozing with potato and cheese. But anyway, Strasbourg also has a variety of unique markets to offer besides the most famous ones. There's the Off Market, an alternative market where you'll find unique goodies in stalls housed in igloos and shipping containers. There's also the market at Place Gutenberg, which welcomes a new guest country every year. For 2019, the guests of honor were Lebanon, which meant plenty of amazing foods to try, and even some low-key partying. And of course, my personal favorite, the Alsatian Delicacies Market along the water, where you can purchase local Alsatian food products like, of course, wine. This is the perfect place to unwind with a glass of wine in hand, or two, and maybe to bring some bottles home as well. What can I say? I'm an easy sail. And with that, the most magical road trip has come to an end. Thank you for watching, Smarties. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button and let me know in the comments which market was your favorite. And of course, subscribe too for more videos just like this one. Until next week, bye!